Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case, looking at the latest discussions within the case and community. Today, we'll be taking a look at the theme of was an ambulance ever present or not, the discussions around that comment-wise, a repost or a response more so by Justin Roy in regards to claims of bashing people and more, and even some reactions from the video that I did in recent time, I believe, with the arguments Jack Newton versus Noah Presgrove, not from the case discussion page, okay, but from the army page. And I just want to take a look at it all, catch up, see what people have had to say. I think it works quite well, this, where do a section of videos more so outside of the box, personal, original videos, then see how discussions go about in time, then look at reactions to the said individuals, said videos of mine that I've made. So it's kind of like always moving up and see where we go from there. What I am thinking of doing someday is more like an experimental video where I try and retell the story of Noah Presgrove from my memory, but in a way try and simplify it. I don't know how long the video would be. You'd hope for it to be short, but we'll see how it goes. It won't be for everyone just because of the style and, you know, the theme of retelling the story. Oh, do we have to? But I just want to test it for myself. I do a lot of talking. The videos are normally long and even the analysis. I just want to be able to try and possibly simplify it and then try and figure out what's the big deal, what's the big issue, what's missing and what isn't. I mean, if you look at some interviews or posts over time where many have hyped it up for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, positive, negative, and even in past cases, I've come along, I've looked at it, I've listened to it, I've seen it, and I thought, what's the big deal? It's not that bad, or it's not that groundbreaking. And other times where people have actually played it down and have said, nah, same old, nothing new here. I've ended up listening to it and I realised there is so much more from it, which people didn't pick up on. The best example was the Dylan Rounds case documentary, the Paramount Plus one, which I starred in. Not my choice or consent, but I did star in the Paramount Plus documentary of the Dylan Rounds case. But when watching it through, most people said, oh, it's terrible, it's missing this and that, it's biased, it's one-sided, there is an agenda, I hate the voices, I hate the people didn't like the family and much more. And I thought, let's just slow it down. I'll watch it myself, listen to it. I made a lot of notes, there was a lot of new information, red flags, red warnings, which have never been mentioned before, people didn't pick up on either. And then it opened up all kinds of discussions. The same can apply with any case as long as I'm present and I'm somewhat focused and there is some kind of material to look at. And if there's no legal issues or anything like that, because, you know, one case is important, but many others and past ones are too. And if one case has a negative knock-on effect to a channel, it will then have an impact on every other case before and after. And we don't want that, do we? So it's a bit balancing. I've got bloody hairs dangling about, don't know where it's coming from. Hopefully, well, I don't even know they're mine. But welcome to anyone that is currently here watching this live premiere. Feel free to share your thoughts and opinions in the live chat box on the right hand side of the screen. If you want to drop a comment down below after watching this video, let me know your thoughts and any additional questions. It will also help with spreading awareness of these videos, which then long term help keep the case alive. And down below, you'll find a pinned message with additional links if you do want to support this channel with alternative links, and as well links to if you want to become a channel member. If you simply want to catch up on recent coverage with my videos from yesterday and beforehand, top right up there will be an I symbol. Click on that. You've got a drop down box with the full playlist of over 200 videos I've made on this case. I don't know if that's considered a good thing or not. Or not a good thing or not, I mean like a lot or not. I can't remember when I started now. Is it like 6-7 months ago and I've made 200? I'm I mean, in terms of the year of 2024, if people weren't aware, out of 365 days, I've uploaded 749 videos. Yeah. That doesn't just apply to Noah Presgrove, it'll be other stuff as well in between, but it's crazy how many videos can really be uploaded, but also the ratio at what they're uploaded at, considering that there was quite a few days I missed out on because of technology and things failing on me and more. So did well keeping up with it at the end of the day. But nevertheless, still here for the Noah Presgrove case, still things to talk about and even refer to in the future if there's an update or I need to reference a key particular thing which was forgotten about or drifted away from a previous video which may have been too long in length, kind of like the situation where Kate and Pressy supposedly broke up an argument between Noah and Jack. That's what Justin said, but Kate and Pressy never mentioned it. He didn't have much involvement with that argument. So who's telling the truth? And, you know, if it came out that it wasn't true and Justin Roy lied, it's not his fault. It's not Justin's fault. It'll be the people that were present as witnesses that then passed on wrong information to Justin, and Justin naturally believed in it because of family of family. You care about them, so you trust them, and then you relay it public. It's a problem. But it can always flip back to the opposite side, whether others like it or not. And I'm not using a direct example like 100% confidence, just a suggestion, that's all. If you got someone like Jack Newton, that's a witness to some things, and he's talked about some stuff, and he's passed it on to family members, or more so friends of friends who are of an older age and onwards, and then that's been passed on, relayed onto Facebook, the mouthpieces, they could be blamed and criticised, but if they're just simply passing on what they've been told from a witness, then it's the witness to blame for possibly changing a story or manipulating it to suit their narrative and in hopes of embedding it into other people's minds for that just to be passed on and never questioned again. So both sides can be played. Both sides can be screwed over individuals that weren't there, but they put their trust and belief in those that were because they're connected either by family, blood, friendship, closeness, geographically speaking, and more. So you always got to look back to the root problem and the root cause, and that is what humans fail to do at times. When you jump around with themes or conclusions, jumping the gun, even when people have attacked me, when the odd person threatened to sue me and more, and etc. And it's like, just calm down. Take a look at the issue. What is the issue? What is the problem? Can it be fixed yet or not? And then ask yourself, who caused that problem in the first place? Not secondary, not thirdly, not afterwards, but who is the root cause? What is the root cause? Where is the origins? And once you figured that out, go over that way and piss off. Not quite, but you just go to that. So if I get caught up in things, which is very unnecessary, and I see unnecessary behaviour, you ask those questions or you just put that into perspective to slow things down, you know, in response to the way others can recklessly react. So with that all being in mind, the order of how we do things today is mainly just looking on Facebook, the Army page. And if I do need to expand on anything in between, I'll do so. So let's just see what the latest posts are online. Here we are. I've already got it adjusted to the latest post. I'm not too sure what order you want to see it in, but I think we'll start off lower down because you got to be aware, depending what type of post or people we're looking at, it could lead to some conflict somewhere. I don't know what's the best way to gauge or time it, but just scrolling on down, we've got 5th of November, so something tells me, naughty, it's not in the correct order, even though I adjusted it, so it lied to me, Facebook, naughty. Right, so the last thing I believe what we looked at was by Joyce Burgow, and that's pretty much it there. We also looked at Jan Friorillo. I didn't respond back, so I'll give a heads up now if Jan is watching and anyone else in between. I can always look back at the comments at another point, but I think Jan Friorillo said something about, I didn't throw Raf under the bus. I'm not questioning or attacking him. I appreciate his coverage. Appreciate that. That's good to know. But I just want to say in response, not for any moment did I think that Jan was attacking me, okay? I didn't think Jan was causing me any problems, so it's all okay there, at least from what I'm consciously aware of. But I'll take a look back at some comment section threads, just in case anything did escalate or was out of, what would you call it, out of control, misunderstood, and things like that. So first of all, I guess we take a look at this. 1 day ago. So credit to Justin for reposting this on here. It helps with spreading awareness, of course, and allowing other people to see it from different perspectives. And the same vice versa with the case discussion page too. Whilst not everyone saw eye to eye with it, it'll be interesting to see what people have said here. So I think, first of all, the thumbnail was quite good for a change. I didn't want it to look too inappropriate, but at the same time, the theme of conflict, I think this shows it fairly well. And to be honest, there might be some additional points that drift in and out of my head from other videos or interviews. Just be on the lookout for that if they ever do drift out of my mind. It can be interesting. If there is any noises or knocking, it's just some knobheads next door. I don't know what they're doing. I'm going to start punching the wall if they don't shut up. But credit to the people that, reacted and whatnot. There we go. Shout out to those people. And even the person at the bottom that, I think, is that Santa Claus in the profile? We're coming across a couple of Santas in recent time, which is interesting. How many Santas are there? Okay. For this, we'll do all comments because I do want to see what people have had to say, whether that be in response to my video or just to general discussions. So we've got Chalia Ricketts. I have a question. When did the arguments escalate at the party? It's been stated by Cade and Pressy that these were just small arguments, nothing big, and everyone had made up. And then tagging Justin Roy, what time were your family members present? Did they witness any of these arguments? So I asked these questions in my actual video, certain ones at least, and others picked up and said, that's very good point. And some outsiders responded saying that supposedly Justin Roy's family members, nephews and whatnot in between, ended up leaving the party house at 2 a.m, which I guess is Monday. 2 a.m, same time when Caden goes to sleep or is about to. That's interesting. 34 replies. If we can hear it from the horse's mouth, that might be helpful. Justin Roy responds, yes, they did. This has already been discussed and was talked about on Partners in True Crime podcast. But that family and the party goers know exactly what happened to Noah. They have been covering this up and trying to do it for over a year now. Next, they will play the victim and try to blame everyone else for themselves not telling the truth. Watch and see. But remember, they blamed it on a hit and run for months. This was staged all day. So did Justin actually answer Chalia's question? The question being, when did the arguments escalate? Justin Roy does not respond back to that exactly. Any other questions? What time was your family members present at the party? Did Justin Roy respond to that question and answer it? No. The final question by Chalia, did they witness any arguments? And Justin Roy says, yes, they did. That's good to know, of course, to make them a true witness. But in terms of did the arguments escalate, Justin Roy did not answer that. And in terms of when his family members left the party, that has not been mentioned either. All I'm doing is making an over non-participant observation again. If the additional questions can be answered, that would be good. And technically, the odd one has been as for when did Justin's family members leave, and it was 2 a.m. on Monday. But how true is that? Because it's been said by other people, not from the horse's mouth. And you need to hear it from the horse rather than the camels. I don't know. I don't know. What reference would you call it? I don't know. So that's unfortunate. Chalia, I understand that it was talked about in Partners in True Crime. Just because it's talked about doesn't make it factual. That would be hearsay, unless there's proof. I'm trying to keep an open mind and full of evidence. I know that you mentioned your family members left before 2 a.m. Did they personally witness any arguments? When did the arguments escalate? Is this before or after Jack Newton said they did have an argument, but they made up and hugged? Wait. So Chalia says, I know that you mentioned the time of when your family members left, but why was Chalia then asking when did they leave if you know when they left, supposedly? That seems a bit of a contradiction there. Justin, again, go watch the podcast. Never said anything was factual, but when several people that were at the party claim there were several arguments, I mean, all we can do is take their word for it. It's your choice to believe it or not. And if you look back at the certain audio, Justin Roy did highlight that there was different stories switching and changing, and even different stories with his family members. Now, I don't know if that means different stories amongst, different sets, individuals of family members. Like, you had like nephews that were there. Did all of the nephews come up with the same story and recollection, or was it all different between one another? Or is Justin Roy simply referring to, you got set A of people, group B, group C, and each group believes something different and has told different stories? There's a bit of a rough way of summarising it or generalising, but at the end of the day, different stories told by a range of different people about multiple different events, giving you multiple different timelines possibly. But in terms of time stamps, have we had an overlap of them? Not really. To be honest, if I think about it, the Dylan Rouse case was more rich in time stamps, and there was so many overlays and conflict with the truth and bollocks out there by other people online, that got messy. With this case, the timing doesn't quite overlap, such as with, this event happened at 2 a.m. Oh, but by the way, another event happened at 2 a.m. too. With the Dylan Rouse case, there was more overlap, right? And it was more problematic, and it was more of a linear focus thing with one or two particular people. In this case, there is the exception of multiple people, different events, because not everybody is witnessing or engaging with the same event at the party. Some people could be in one room, another person could be in the bathroom, a person could be outside, and in each room, each different environment with different people can tell a different story and literally experience a different story when there. Not everybody is doing the same thing. Yes, you can all be at a party. There could be 40 people at a party, but is everybody singing? Not really. Is everybody dancing? Not to say. Some people could be doing other stuff. Some people could be outside or leaving to go to a store nearby to buy additional alcohol or anything else in between. So there is that. Anyway, let's just link back to Justin. Just like for over a year, that family wants us to believe that Noah just walked off without his belongings 1.2 miles away just to cool off down the highway because he couldn't sleep in a bed with a girl he called a fat, nasty bitch, when he also slept on the floor the night before and then just got ran over by a random vehicle. I'm sorry, I choose not to believe that. That actually makes no sense to me. So we keep going round and round with this point, and I do understand it. What I want to do right now is put it into perspective and then see what Justin Roy says or thinks. Not that one has to answer publicly. You can answer it in your own mind. But what Justin has said here, do I agree with him? For most part of it, yes. It does sound ridiculous that Noah would walk away just because of one event, just because of one or two rejections in terms of the sleeping debacle, to leave the property, let alone to leave the site area as a whole and go onto the highway, which is not lit because there's no lights, and then to cover 1.2 miles randomly going north, which is the direction of where he lives at, but that's 42 point something miles, which is not possible on foot, especially when it's dark. And even if Noah was into cross-country running and stuff, I just don't think it'd be the right time or right mindset to be doing something like that, unless he was very, very desperate. But I don't think we've got enough proof of that level of desperation unless there was party footage which showed him panicking or very scared. That might be an exception. But yeah, I agree with Justin Roy here. But what I would say is, it's possible to believe that Noah would walk out of the party house to distance himself, to remain on site of the property, possibly, and just cool off. Not just because of the bedroom debacle, because yes, he might have been okay sleeping on the floor Saturday night, but Monday, change of mind. But furthermore, wanting to go home earlier and everybody rejected him. A build-up of that, multiple things not going his way. It could get annoying. And if drunk as well, how you react to it. And Caden Pressey stated it's normal for Noah to wander off. So it was probably another occurrence of that. But something went wrong in between. Or in the process of when he may have tried returning back to the house. So I think there's a chance, basically, that Noah did leave the house but remain on site of the property. Even if he did supposedly head east towards the highway. Don't mean to say he actually went onto the highway. But you've got to take in mind, how do we know the direction? What are we basing it off? Why did I mention east? Because that's what Jack said. Well, of course, that's what Jack's going to say. If he's one of the examples of pushing the possible hit and run concept, yeah, Noah went east. Just so happens to be towards the highway. Just so happens to be the concept that I've had in my mind all this time of being a hit and run, just like other family members or friends of friends. Yeah, very convenient. But, still just highlight it, put into perspective, because whether Noah left the property or not, it's at least good to know what direction he walked in. But even before any of that, just to talk about the shoes. Why was it that way? Mismatched ones. Any particular reason or what? Sometimes you make more mistakes when you're not quite in the right frame of mind. Was Noah Presgrove in the right frame of mind when he possibly made the choice to want to sleep in one of the girls' beds, and then how he reacted after that and what he did after that and more? But the only small factor which you could use as a counterpoint in regards to Noah ending up at the highway or possibly attempting to reach the highway based off a past event that happened only once. Now, I can't remember if Caden Pressey said it in his private police interview or it was mentioned by Sarah Long or Brooke or Stevie Howard. It's hard to remember. But I definitely remember one individual, key person, referencing that there was one time where Noah Presgrove wandered off and ended up in a ditch. And it took some time to find him or something. Okay, in a ditch. It's okay saying that, but when? Where? The where question is the most important factor. Because just like with Noah wandering off in the past, maybe that's a normal thing for him. But where was it at? Where did these parties and events take place in the past when Noah did walk away? At a time of when Noah walked away from a previous party weeks, months, years ago, what environment was he in? An urban area, a rural location, a small town where there's shops and resources nearby, services and CCTV cameras and additional help if needed? Or was it in a treacherous, hazardous place? Kind of like the party house, near to a railroad track and then a highway and no lighting. Not the best place to be if you're stranded or you need to get back and you've got no vehicle of your own and you're dependent on someone else and that's turned down as well. You get what I'm saying? That's what needs to be highlighted too. People say, there's no point looking at a person's past. Don't know why I'm getting a bit posh there when I said pasture last time and now we're saying past. But when you look back at the history with people, that just happen to be tied up in this case directly or indirectly, and those say it doesn't matter, their past, it doesn't define them now, it doesn't link now. But if you're looking at the victim, how did they act? How did they react? What did they do in the past? What did they do when things went wrong, when they were hopeless, helpless, when they were at a party, when they supposedly walked away and then they returned back? All those routines, that behaviour, the psychology behind it. What's so different this time round, which was never done in the past? You get me? Even like with Jasmine Milan, a 3:42 or 3:43 Snapchat post announcing that Noah's missing and casually smiling. Maybe it is what it is, but would something be done like that in the past with them? You look at these abnormalities, and then if there are any, probably should look into them. Chalia, I've watched the podcast more than once. Again, it's all hearsay and no factual evidence. If that's the case, then since more than 3 people from that area claiming I'm kin to some of these folks make it true, let's be real, you're entitled to your opinion as I am. I'll continue to follow evidence and not hearsay. There have been times in cases and communities where it's come from the horse's mouth and people still treated it as hearsay and it wasn't good enough. There will be times and moments in life where even if you've got some kind of evidence to a small extent or a witness firsthand, it will never be good enough for some people out there, especially if they've got an agenda, especially if they're a bit brainwashed or delusional. Not much you can do. In the situation with Justin Roy appearing on an interview sharing his thoughts on the matter, what he knows of, not firsthand, but what's been passed on to him, listened to, yes. It shouldn't be ignored, it should be listened to. But then I guess the same could apply to Brooke Bounds-Carter or Sarah Long. You might not agree, you might not trust, but still listen to, based off what they've got to say from what they've been told from others, just like how Justin has been told from others who were there. It's not the best, but it's better than nothing. As for Caden Pressey retelling his story and saying what was what, if you wanted to be really critical, and it's not directly coming from my mindset, but you could say that's everything that Caden says is hearsay, only because no solid, hard evidence was shown in that Partners in True Crime public interview. If you wanted to be like really strict, I know people could attack me or question me, but I'm just being honest, and I'm talking in general what other people could say or could think. Is it good enough what Caden did? Yeah, in terms of publicly speaking, which can make him a marked target, so then we get to learn a bit more about the case or a certain side to it. It does help. But when I think back to previous cases, and it's what the family have had to say on behalf of Dylan Round's case. The family doesn't even live in that area, weren't even around at the time of what happened to Dylan, and yet the information that was shared and passed on, listened to it, I made notes, I did video projects and whatnot. Then it came with the waves of strangers and people online saying it's hearsay, where's the truth, where's the solid evidence, we can't believe it, we can't trust it. And guess what? Towards the end, when it came to those court documents in regards to certain factors, it turned out to be true. So when it came to blood on Brenna's shirt, hands and sleeves, and people were like, that's not Dylan's blood, it could be animals. Come on, use common sense. That is still possible. That's what I did, others didn't, and in the end it turned out to be Dylan's blood, so it's not that big of a deal. You can try and apply it here with this case as well. It might be a bit more difficult, but, you can try. Chalia. Actually, just the opposite. You are the one that has nothing but hearsay. The kids have spoke with LE. They gave up their phones. They've came on here and made statements which they were treated horribly. Really? Is that really the case? Okay, we've heard references about other partygoers cooperating with the police and done well. But as for coming online and publicly speaking about it, I've never seen it before. So Chalia Ricketts, can you elaborate on who you're referring to? by people being treated horribly online after making statements on Facebook. Who did that? Besides Jack Newton, who else? I came to the case late. By the time I arrived, and more so, by the time I joined the odd community which was private, I probably missed out on a lot. So that's why I'm asking the question. So Chalia, if you want to reply, you can down below in the comment section. But she does say that Jack Newton did a polygraph. Jack Newton gave an interview. Well, yeah, later. People keep screaming because the kids are being quiet. Well, I would too at this point. The thing is, keeping quiet but cooperating with authorities in the background, cooperating with the right people, is probably the correct thing to do. But you can't be too surprised when people online may be questioning to an extent and skeptical because they're not seeing the public, the private side made publicised to the public. So there is a disconnect. There's a wall of silence. And probably legal reasons as well, but the general public aren't going to know the full story, the absolute truth. So all they can do is scratch their heads, question, and be a little bit frustrated. But if general public push too hard or bite too hard, might be a bit unnecessary. But equally, like with the opposition can't complain too much. If they're willing to keep quiet but cooperate properly in the background, they can't react too triggered or be too surprised when the general public are clueless or they're not trusting or they question too much. Got to understand it from both sides. But to be honest, with Jack Newton doing this and that, yeah. Oh, he's been treated horribly online. Is that what Chalia is referring to? Well, arguably, Chalia, you could say the same for Caden Pressey. Caden Pressey's done an interview. Caden Pressey made statements online, and look at how he was supposedly treated. So from either way you look at it, from opposition to opposition, both sides, at some point, in some way, may have been poorly treated. The way I see it, even like with the Jay Slater case, the one from Tenerife, the Jay Slater case, people of interest and the way the general public reacted even towards the family, pushing and shoving, making jokes and being critical and being negative. And in some ways, maybe people felt it was needed or necessary. But at the end of the day, sometimes you've got to work with the devil, keep the enemies closer, because if you push people away too far, they'll end up going underground, people of interest, and you may never see or hear from them again. And it makes the case overall a lot harder to track. You see? That should be applied within the Noah Presgrove case, but I think the damage has already been done with time. There's that. But in terms of Jack Newton, okay, Jack Newton has changed the story with time. And we're not just talking about some little timestamps here and there. We're talking about completely glossing over previous events and replacing them with others. For example, the supposed argument between Noah and Jack, the final one on Monday, during or before Noah walking away from the house. In the Partners in True Crime interview some months ago, Jack did not even acknowledge that event taking place. Instead, Jack said, oh, and by the way, it was Logan Jernigan that was last to see Noah walk away. Yet in the past, it was supposedly Jack himself that saw Noah walking away. Why or how do you get that mixed up or confused? And why did Jack, out of nowhere, suddenly decide to say in the Partners in True Crime interview some months ago that, oh, by the way, Noah was only wearing one shoe on the highway, the other one was elsewhere? And yet what Caden saw and what others saw afterwards, including the truck drivers, Tyler Hardy and Jimmy Williams, the undersheriff, all of them said that Noah was at least wearing a pair of mismatched shoes. From 5:20 to 6:15 a.m. constantly wearing a pair of mismatched shoes. Even though Donna Bond saw footage of the highway with Noah not wearing shoes or something like that at some point. I don't know what the hell that is. That's a bit of an anomaly, to be honest. But what I'm getting at is, when you look at opposition or when you look at differing people's stories and accounts at the place and time they showed up at. It's relevant to what they saw. What they saw, relevant to when they showed up, is true to themselves. But what someone else saw, relevant earlier at the time when they showed up, is true to them. Kind of like with Caden Pressey and Tyler Hardy. If anything happened in between, that's what alters and changes the reality for the next person that sees what's present compared to what the first person saw. It's like if you go to an art gallery and there is a painting on exhibition, a solid 16 by 9 inch photo of warlike Ref with a rose in the hair and a red robe dangling down. You look at it and think, wow, what a disaster. And then walk away. And then another set of people come along and that painting has fallen off the wall because it wasn't nailed in, man. What's the other group of people going to see? A blank canvas, a boring wall, not much going on. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is a masterpiece. I'm going to pay $5 million for that. Does it come with a banana duct tape to it? Don't even care, man, at this point. At the end of the day, each group of people saw something different, but it was true to themselves and what they observed at the time. And in between, something changed, a middleman, a factor, a variable that was altered. That can apply to Caden Pressey, it can apply to Tyler Hardy. But if there are any factors, any events across all boards which everybody saw, that's a positive. That's a form of consistency. And what would that be? That Noah was found at the highway with a pair of mismatched shoes. One, Noah's own, Adidas, or some say Adidas, and then the other one, a Hey Dude Caden Pressey shoe. Bit weird, yes, to be wearing mismatched shoes and how they ended up on him and why, but if they were there on Noah's body from 5:21 when Caden saw it to 5:53 when Tyler Hardy saw it onwards, and then 6:15 when Jimmy Williams saw it, that's consistency. Yeah? Hallelujah! So why the hell did Jack Newton decide to say in the Partners in True Crime interview Noah was wearing only one shoe? That goes against everybody else, doesn't it? Even the official autopsy report and documents going against that. Come on. Is there anything more I've got to say about that? That is ridiculous. See, this is the thing. Let's say all the important stuff gets too complex, too confusing. What you need to do, and that can apply to anyone watching and listening, dial it back, look at a simple event, a simple factor, variable that can be measured and monitored, compare, contrast with others. And if there's a level of ridiculousness with even such a simple event, upscale it to other things after it. Kind of like the side-by-side. It's quite significant, but at the same time, supposedly not quite relevant to the death of Noah, because he was supposedly okay after getting out of it, and it was on record or a photo was taken and Noah was still alive and Caden Pressey witnessed that, even though some people say it's a lie, but Caden said that. So what more can you do at this point? But the side-by-side, a simple event, right? And yet still to this day, we don't even know who were the passengers. And Jack Newton made a reference, there was 5 to 6 passengers. No names given, no genders revealed. Why is it so difficult? What's the next mystery gonna be? Oh, who went to the toilet last? Who forgot to close the door? Who left the seat open? Who left a few marks behind? Oh my God, we can't quite determine it. You know, we could look at the stool sample and try and figure it out and see what the food digestion was. Was there any yogurt or ramen noodles? Oh, let's not go there. But if a simple event taking place at a bigger event is just so complex and a mess, then you upscale it to other things. But you could also actually make an insignificant event more important by saying how if a simple event took place, there should be simple questions, simple answers. You're not getting simple answers. You might not be getting any at all, which overall makes this event rather peculiar, strange, and there's more to it possibly. And it's more important and it's more in line with the bigger overall picture. You could do that. And then when the opposition have a go at you and say, oh, why are you turning it into something which it's not? You're overdoing it. You're going overboard. You need to control yourself. And then you can respond back and say, well, you know what? We wouldn't be here if you actually answered properly and you cooperated better. See, overall, this is like a microcosm at the end of the day, but take notes. Overall, when you look at the claims of, yes, these partygoers and others and the girls cooperated with the police just fine and it was all done great. Okay. Obviously, it wasn't good enough because we're still going about this case and supposedly people haven't been cleared, or not officially, and just going around in circles. So obviously that cooperation only worked to a degree. And furthermore, whilst that may have taken place in the background, at least on the public surface level, have we seen that same level of cooperation? Maybe not. But to try and break that negative cycle on a smaller scale, sometimes good things come in small packages, however you interpret that. But you look at live premieres on YouTube, videos, pre-recorded videos with a live chat where people can gather, watch, and maybe chat. Whilst elsewhere, maybe on Facebook, communication and insults and back and forth has gone downhill. How it's come about on here, it's turned out a bit better. Some questions answered, and it's worked out. Obviously, you'll get the odd exception like Michelina, however you call them, who fails to answer questions left, right and centre. There'll be some exceptions. But besides Michelina, Mickey Mouse, you do have Brooke Bounds Carter that can actually answer questions at times, which is a positive. So that's appreciated. There might be other times where between other people there could be gears grinding. I mean, it would be ironic if that's what's happening right now, unknown to me in the chat, but there will be moments, but it's not always like it. So that's something you got to acknowledge. But what else do we have here? I know I've kind of gone off on one. I probably should have showed my face when I was talking, so apologies about that. I keep forgetting. So what else do we have here? I also read that Caden Pressey said, I've watched and rewatched his interviews. I guess that can go out of the window since his timeline didn't add up now. Where are the supposed geofence from his phone that was done? A lot of people was saying those were coming soon. Even the PI said that. Oh, what? Kathy Bingham? Where are those? Did they even exist? But since you want to say that with several people saying something happened, it must be true, right? Well, hate to break it to you, but Caden Pressey is the only one claiming that timeline. The other partygoer timelines add up with each other, so it must be true, correct? See, here's the thing. Caden Pressey's timeline stands out from other people's, but the opposition of other people's, the coalition, the collective conscious group of minds, well, they're not quite seeing eye to eye themselves because they contradict one another. So you can't be saying that Caden Pressey is the lone one with a dodgy timeline and everybody else is in line with one another. So it's one against all. So that one must be wrong and all are correct. It doesn't always work out like that. And furthermore, the fact that it's not one against all, it's one against one versus one. It's a free for all because even the collective conscious group can't quite come up with the same stories. So it's very disjointed, it's fragmented pretty much. That's the best way of putting it. What's this? But since you want to say with several people saying something, having it must be true, break it. But Ken Press is the only one claiming the timeline. Justin Roy. Oh, how I wish we could listen to all the other partygoers' interviews like we got to with Caden Pressey. Exactly. If people got the chance to listen to those interviews, police ones or elsewhere, just like Caden Pressey's, you could be critical of everyone. You could question everyone. That's what I would do, at least, in terms of looking back at an interview. The thing is, Caden Pressey's, at least a private one, wasn't supposed to be released public, but things happened. If the same mishaps happened with all the other party goers, well then, it'd be more even playing field to question and do more. Justin says, the private investigator did apparently interview one or two of my nephews. That's their business, though. Oh, we've got a new detail now. Because it just so happens that Kathy Bingo Hall Bingo Caller Bingham did say that she interviewed at least 6 of the party goers, and that was mentioned, I think, Partners in True Crime. I saw the transcript or part of it relayed onto one of the Reddit pages at the time. 6 people out of 40 interviewed by Kathy Bingham. And she was saying how two of them seem very honest and innocent and truthful, but then another set or person, there's more to it, dodgy. But Kathy Bingham didn't make much reference, it wasn't quite clear, but for Justin here to say that the private investigator apparently, supposedly interviewed two of his nephews, that's very interesting. Shame we never really heard about it. Justin says, and no, not all the partygoers agree with Jack's timeline. I've spoken personally with two that said differently. And anyway, just like with Jack's timeline, even the likes of Carter Combs, you could say there's a conflict of interest because Jack is with Carter, Carter's with Jack at the party, and later on when did they get engaged? Well, they're released together to some extent, right? You'd think they'd be in line with one another, defend one another. In some ways, that's true, but in terms of the party and the recollection of what supposedly happened, what went down and what didn't, Carter says one thing, Jack says the other. So even them, when there's a possible sign of conflict of interest, they're still not on the same page. Says a lot, doesn't it? Whether you're on the same page collectively telling the truth or lying, you're in sync. We're not even getting that. So it reiterates it, just like what I said earlier. Caden Pressey did try to give L.E. his phone. They did not take it. Obviously, that's very odd. If every other partygoer handed their phone in and L.E. took it, for Caden Pressey to be rejected makes him look like the odd one out, and it seems like the L.E. don't want his evidence. Why is that? Because they want to pin it on Caden Pressey for being responsible. It seems very one-sided and very odd. Maybe we do a separate video about it. And actually, there were a few other people that have tried contacting L.E. very early on and never even got a call back, and were not interviewed until months later. And you wonder why everyone thinks the L.E. corruption. Maybe they already have everything they needed, but it does seem very odd to me not to interview everyone, right? So it seems your opinion has changed. What do you think happened? Is that so? A few other people tried contacting L.E. and it took quite some time to get a call back. Months later, just like Caden Pressey. So who are those few other people then? Party goers? And were they present Monday or Sunday or Saturday, all days? To what extent, I wonder? Chalia. I've stated this before, I'll state it again. I'm being very open-minded and choosing to follow the evidence and evidence alone. I don't know if this was a murder or an accident. I don't know if this was intentional or unintentional. At one time, I did believe Caden Pressey's timeline. I do not believe it's accurate now. If there is corruption in LE, I can only hope at bare minimum an internal investigation is being done. I'm not here to argue. Justin says, yet you have not heard their interviews, yet here you are talking about them, then talking about hearsay. Yet you have no idea what they said in those interviews. And yes, your opinion has changed, and that's okay. Everyone has a right to their own opinion. But you did, in fact, at one point think Noah was murdered. Again, it's okay. Just wondered what changed. And I'm definitely not arguing. Justin, I've already said that my mind changed. Good grief. Anyone who's on this page can clearly see that. I was very vocal, especially back in June and August, about it. I haven't watched what interviews. What Justin is referring to in regards to interviews is Caden Pressey's police interview was leaked and by some people's mindsets hacked, but more so leaked publicly, which it wasn't supposed to be, but it did. So we got to see a different side and perspective. One which didn't quite tie in line with Caden's public interview with Partners in True Crime. There's quite a few discrepancies. That is a problem, right? And I acknowledged it. The same could apply to other party goers, but we've not had the chance or opportunity to listen to them because likely they'll never be leaked or hacked, right? That's what Justin is referring to. Anyway, Chalia says, if you're referring to Partners in True Crime, yes, I've watched them all. If you're referring to Warlike Ref, no, I haven't watched them all. And I believe Chalia wouldn't watch all my videos or wouldn't have the stamina to do so because, as I said, they are long and go on for quite some time. And I think Chalia was the one complaining about it. But anyway, but I've watched some. If you're talking about Ellie interviews, then no, I haven't. I doubt anyone has. I got to hear Caden Pressy's when that was put out. Yeah, lucky enough to hear Caden Pressy's side, as for the private one. But you know what could help? But it didn't happen. Okay, Jack Newton did that interview with Partners in True Crime, but that wasn't even face-to-face, was it? It was over a mobile call, and it was like pre-recorded and then played on the Partners in True Crime live stream or live premiere. That says a lot, doesn't it? And one of the reasons why Jack did it that way via the phone call and not through an actual panel or webcam is because I think of backlash and more so the News Nation interview. I don't know if anyone remembers it, but Jack Newton said after that News Nation interview, things happened. And that's what kind of made him reluctant to do Partners in True Crime interview. Interesting. Very. Oh, we got Melanie Fagan. Shout out to Melanie. Now, I know Mel said that she likes kitty cats. Meow, meow. I think Melanie has gone a step too far, took the catnip, and has literally transformed into a cat. My goodness, have you seen that profile picture? What's going on there? Anyway, Mel says, so you didn't really want an actual answer to your question. Your intention was to yet start another argument, and again, parroting the same narrative over and over in response to Chalia. Justin, this person is not sincere. Read the things they post. Okay. Please explain how. I don't want actual answers. So it starts going to a bit of a catfight. She asked you a question about your family member or members, whether they witnessed the argument knowing that you answered it. It would be hearsay, then attacks you saying it's hearsay. Right, so this is where... Okay. We don't need to read this too much. Next time Chalia starts up again with questions or whatnot, I would just ignore her, says Holly. No, I asked him for a simple fact of this. Since when did it go from 2 family members to 6 to 10? Well, in Partners in True Crime, Justin Roy said there was about 6 to 10 or 6 to 11 family members that attended the party, and some of Justin's family members were married into the Milan family. I remember that. In terms of 2 of his family members out of the 10 or 11 interviewed by Kathy Bingham, I've never heard that before until today. So you can let me know your thoughts down below. Chalia says, also, Justin states whatever happened was after 2 a.m. and conveniently all his family members were gone before 2 a.m. Okay, well, just so happens conveniently the CCTV cameras weren't working in general, but they were supposedly working at the time of when some Texas boys left after Noah, and that was mentioned by Stevie Howard, and it just so happens that I actually remember that, but unfortunately, as for finding the screenshot conversation, not as easy. So what I will say, anyone watching right now, providing it's not lurkers who are about to delete anything, if anyone else remembers that post, the paragraph by Stevie Howard stating in regards to the CCTV cameras not working, by some chance, the odd one was which captured Texas boys leaving the house, which was afterwards, in which earlier Noah had already left. If you remember that, if you still got the screenshot of that text, that conversation on Facebook, it was a public comment, feel free to share it so then we can spread more awareness if you want to reach out to me. I remember it in my head, okay? And I feel that there's a chance that I probably documented it on my channel in a past video, but trying to find it. Needle in a haystack. But just let me know if you remember. Okay. Ooh. Oh, Jan Fiorillo steps on in. Right, Chalia, being open-minded, huh? Only following the evidence and not hearsay, huh? Like trying to make a post about me allegedly being in a store telling Noah's friend, Lisa, a load of crap that was commented in another group. Wow. That I only know what is being said if someone screenshots and sends it to me. Do you think to fact check that, or were you just too eager for another opportunity in your defamation of me? As what you call open-minded, only following the evidence and not hearsay. You can thank Justin for not outing you and posting your lie to the group showing your self-proclaimed open-mindedness and altruistic powers of discernment. Girl, stop. And that's said to Chalia Ricketts. Oh no. Since she wants to block before I can respond, can I zoom in? So Chalia Ricketts was blocked. Jan blocked Chalia. I usually won't even acknowledge you, but I will this time. Go back to Pam and have her send you what I said about the post. You must have missed that. Right, so you can see there's a bit of drama and conflict. When did you right or wrong to me? Your comments are still up. Do you think to ask Lisa, Noah's friend, who she was referring to, or just happy to assume it was me? Both Michael and Pam asked Lisa who she was talking about, and then Pam had to inform you, but did you remove your comments? Now I can see why some of the family members, along with Eric P, asked Justin Roy to back off. Unbelievable. Oh no. If you want to pause it, you can if you want. What we got here? Text conversation. Another lie. I haven't blocked you yet. Oh no. See, I don't know why it is, but when it comes to true crime, people always jump ahead and say, "Oh my God, you blocked me. Oh my God, you blocked me, man." People have jumped onto me and said, "Why have you blocked me, Ref?" You're commenting public. I can see your comment. Everyone can see your message. You're not blocked. It's that simple. But obviously people don't understand how YouTube works at times. Oh, we got gaslighting. To be honest, you know what we should do? Not to be too serious, but, next time you cover the Noah Presgrove case or you look at the community, you should get a bloody bingo card up. Come on, Skippy. I know you've won it 10 times out of 10 probably somewhere. Get the bingo card up. We'll have number 1, gaslighting. Number 2, blocked me. Number 3, hearsay. Number 5, anything else in between. Who's going to get the full bingo card full? Sure, I don't know. Okay. DM's talking smack about me. Melanie comes in with a Christmas tree. Oh no, Luana, we've got the scriptures coming on in now. Oh, don't tell me referee 16 has to get involved. Okay. That's quite eventful. Just for that particular section, 41 comments on this particular post of mine, and 34 are just within one thread. But as you know, when it comes to comment threads, some can be a lot longer than others, like 50, 100. It can get a bit wild, keeping up with it all. Oops, kicking me off, naughty. Brandy, what I don't understand is if Jack Newton happened upon Noah Presgrove before sunup, eh? Why would he not call 911 from the get-go instead of rushing back to the house to inform the others? It happened upon my best friend laying on the side of the road, not knowing the condition. I'd be calling for proper help immediately. Fair enough. Yeah. See, I'm not excusing Jack, but it all comes down to who showed up at the highway first, Jack Newton or the unknown truck drivers. Whoever showed up first, you would expect them to be the one to make the call. Whoever shows up after or late to the party, they may already assume or presume that the originals have made contact to police. Hence why when Caden Pressey arrived with the others, they didn't think to call police or an ambulance or anything like that because, people are already here. You'd think they've done it. Could you have asked a question though? Maybe, but see, this is the thing. If Caden Pressey stuck around long enough at the highway and did not leave when told by some stranger, then maybe, because no police were coming up to a point, then Caden may have said, right, did anyone actually call the police? Did anyone actually bother? I'll try it again. I'll do it myself. And if anyone said, no, don't do it. Don't call. It's okay. Then that would be suspicious. But because Caden and the guys did not stick around long enough, there was not enough time to question whether police were coming or not. But the longer you stay around, the more you start to question, did the original people actually make contact to the police or what? Yeah, that would have been interesting. Brandy says, out of curiosity, is the Mike Tyson kid, known as Mikey Lair, on Chalia's background picture behind her profile pic? No, ma'am. What? Wait, who are we referring to? Mike Tyson, Chalia's background pic. Where's Chalia? I don't see Mikey in the background of Chalia's profile picture, there's no one behind. What? What's going on there? I have no clue. That aside, I think we should move on. Take in mind, at the time of doing these recordings, more comments could appear later. Not much I can do about that. We got Beth Carr 19 hours ago. When the first 911 call came in, and that would have been by Tyler H., not Tyler Hardy, but the other Tyler H., that was driving some kind of truck, had to pass by, could not stop because of traffic behind, including the Ford F-150, which Tyler Hardy was driving. Both going in the same direction, yet Tyler Hardy was able to stop, pull over, and make his calls later within a short space of time. The first call made as for the time, and I'm sure I'll get crucified for this, was supposedly around 5:43. Second call, which was the failed one by Tyler Hardy, 5:46. Some could say 48. And then the successful final call by Tyler Hardy, 5:53. It's within that time period, okay? So it's afterwards. By the time these people come on by or pass by, Caden's gone already with the guys. Jack Newton's nowhere to be seen, supposedly, and the other two unknown truckers have moved on. And anyone else in between. A handful of people were there. If you added it up, maybe it could be more than a pair of hands, possibly. Out of all of that, and yet calls were made at a later point. It just seems a bit dysfunctional. Nevertheless, stating that there was a body laying on the side of the road, why didn't dispatch call an ambulance and fire department to the scene? So it's a fair question, I guess. Like when it's come to other cases where it's obvious that someone's dead, it could be in a high street, it could be on a main road, it could be in an urban area where there's a dense population and closer to services. They might still send out an ambulance or paramedics, other kinds out there, fire department, who knows, whatever that can help at the time. Even like if there was like dead people in a vehicle, you probably still get like the fire department to come on down because they've just so happened to have equipment to, break free, break access, entry into a vehicle that could be trapped, stuck, upside down. You still require the fire department for that. And then with what comes with it afterwards, the other services too. The dispatcher assigned Jimmy Williams, I think, but to be honest, it was more so Jeremiah Wilson. Him. What's he classified as? Officer. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember dispatch referring to Jeremiah Williams. Oh, for fuck's sake. Jimmy Williams, Jeremiah Wilson. I think that's correct. But, okay, you got volunteer fire department. Not the fire department, I guess. Just the volunteer ones on the sideline. What do people have to say? We're not going to go through every single comment because there is a lot of them. Tracy, I'm not sure, but I think it was reported as someone was dead laying on the side of a highway, so maybe they thought they already checked and knew he was dead, so there's no point. But still, unless it's different from country to country or state to state, there tends to be a procedure still, even when someone is dead, like maybe paramedics or some type will come on down because their services are for that type of stuff, whereas a police guy come on down can't just put a body in the back of the car, can they? But if you've got an ambulance or more of an unmarked van, you could. Again, I don't think anyone knows exactly why they did not call one out, because usually when someone calls 911 for an ambulance, usually the LE and fire truck also goes to the scene. Or at least in my experience, called out to my house. Right, okay. It's insane to me how long he was out there for until the ME came on down. I recall her stating she had received other calls about it as well. So she should have called the ambulance fire department prior to that first call. Not sure why those other calls weren't documented and recorded nor turned in. Well, the other calls should have been from Tyler H. Tyler Hardy calling in, and that's when the dispatcher said we had some other calls earlier. So they're close together. I wonder who both those ladies are and if any connections to the party goers. What, the dispatchers? Usually body is taken to hospital where they pronounce them deceased. Yeah, there we go. Elements can be detrimental to body, part of a crime scene, homicide. Noah should have been shown more respect. And as well, that ME went down to Lawton, took a detour to do another job. Should have gone to Noah direct, but decided to go elsewhere because it was nearer. That's questionable, isn't it? Why wouldn't ambulance be dispatched out immediately with the first one? Crazy. People agree. Oh, there we go. We got like a little reference by Danielle Castle. I wonder why the dispatcher said she had 2 other calls. Let's try and make sense of that. Dispatcher, looked like somebody was laying in the road. Question. Caller 1. That should be Tyler H. No, on the shoulder. They were walking and maybe somebody hit them. It wasn't a deer. It looked like a body. Caller 2. I'm pretty sure there is someone laying dead along the road. They look naked. I'm staying back. But caller 2 is Tyler Hardy. Dispatcher responds to Tyler Hardy saying, yes, I just had 2 calls on that and I have a deputy headed that way. What that basically means is caller number 1, that was one of the previous calls. Caller number 2 is actually by caller 2 that made a failed attempt in reaching out to the dispatcher. When Tyler Hardy, the second caller, made his first call to the dispatch or police, there was a bad signal. It was just static. But I guess the dispatcher still recorded it or was notified. So then Tyler Hardy called a second time. The dispatcher didn't know, I guess, that it was Tyler Hardy that tried calling prior. And then before that, Tyler H. I hope that's clear enough. That's to my knowledge. I think we small people just don't matter to law government. We got Suzanne. That is supposed to be done. So I'm going to say that since they didn't, they must have known Noah was already gone and thought, what, there was no point? An ambulance went, but nothing did get called by 911. Odd. Wasn't there someone saying something in the background whilst 911 was talking to someone in the room? Was it? Let's just see. Lelia Pinson, shout out to Lelia. You are correct, the dispatcher was speaking with someone else, most likely her partner. In dispatch, you usually have several dispatchers together in a room. And I think there might have been some talking in the background about reference to Jeremiah Wilson possibly being sent out. Julie Oswald. Have I seen him on my channel? Or it might be just a similar name I've seen before. I thought it was protocol for an ambulance to attend the scene regardless. We'll just skip through it briefly because I think most comments will be in agreement, won't there? Too much going on, very true. Joined. FBI get involved. It's the norm. Protocol. Lies never end. Where would that person say? Oh. Interesting. Who is the dispatcher? Justin Roy. I don't think any made a 911 call, at least that I haven't heard. I've wondered why an ambulance was never called as well. What's his question, though? I wonder, Justin Roy, when listening to the 911 call, the dispatchers both stated they had several calls, but why weren't those calls recorded? Several calls? I don't remember it being worded like that. Prior calls, yeah. And that should be Tyler H. with the first call, Tyler Hardy with the second call, which was just static, and then the third and final one, successful by Tyler Hardy. That's been the understanding for some time, but it could always, branch off as in other stuff did happen. But if those calls weren't successful, or I don't know, people were saying that the dispatchers didn't seem too fazed by it and acted a bit dumb as for the location and needing to know the coordinates or the direction of the traffic or where you were heading and going. Right, okay. Just the drivers on the road called, the Taylors. You mean Tyler. And to be honest, Tyler Hardy, last name Hardy. The other Tyler H. Not being Hardy, but someone else. Another last name, but with a H. They referred to a body on the side of the road. I've always wondered why they didn't send an ambulance. All right, okay. That has been said months ago about a possible call from the party house from one of the party goers, but it was never confirmed and there are no documented proof either. So why did anyone bring it up in the first place, that rumour? What was the point of it? Oh, possible in order to mislead and throw people off. Maybe. Sounds very unprofessional. They are not talking to another individual whilst on a call. Cover themselves. Why is he still walking the streets and many others need locked up? Only one semi-driver at the scene. Was the only one not connected to anyone, just something to plunder about. Only one semi-driver. You talking about Tyler H, and then the pickup driver being Tyler Hardy. Jamie, I personally think it was Jack as the main culprit and then Carter along with Brylan, and I've always have. But I do understand why you and some of us think Avery was the main one responsible for what happened to Noah, and you might be right, as none of us were there and actually know what exactly happened the night, who was responsible and what caused Noah's death. You know, it would be all of them. That's the type of manipulative people we're dealing with here, but whatever happened to Noah, they all know and covering it up. They're just as guilty and will go down with the rest of them unless someone comes forward, because the jury will not play around. Right. I'm just glazing through, okay, for the timing. The fact that first responders didn't include medical EMTs and an ambulance, and that they weren't dispatched to the scene is basically unheard of. Possible giving CPR, checking for a pulse and beyond. Yeah. True. I guess what you'd have to ask yourself is, out of 10, how often is medical EMTs, paramedics and whoever else, ambulances, called out within the area? How successful is that? I used to be a 911 dispatcher. All calls in or out are recorded. Right. Supposed to be, yet not all were released, and sometimes have been altered as well, it appears. Do we have proof of that? That not all calls were released? Do we have proof that the calls that were have been altered? I remember I did a video in the past uploading the calls and people kept saying, oh, that's not true, that's been altered, that's not the full thing. Accidentally lost some of the recordings that day, just like they didn't get search warrants. Wow, what's next? Keep letting murderers walk free. Determine, it really is. Right, okay. Dina Rush. Oh, different Dina. Right, so that's pretty much it for that, I would say. And last but not least, we just take a look at Justin Roy. I will refer back maybe to the ambulance situation. We'll see. I just wanted to catch up. What's this all about? Justin Roy, 3 hours ago. So it's been brought to my attention that a few people think I have bashed these kids, I guess the party goes, and harassed them for my opinion. In my Partners in True Crime podcast, I stated very early on that I was very aggressive and apologised for that. I remember seeing that and hearing it. At the same time, anyone who did not believe the hit and run theory was attacked daily. As for me, you've seen how I've gone about things. And if I've not been all in on the hit and run, I haven't been attacked. But then again, it might have been a different time back then. Who knows? When I wasn't around. These are my opinions. I've gathered them from partygoers, podcasts, medical professionals, family news, etc. Also, very early on, a lot of people thought Noah was murdered. His autopsy report was very horrific for it not to be foul play, in my opinion. Apparently, somehow, they're going to try to blame me for them not coming forwards and telling the truth about what happened to Noah, playing the victim role yet once again. They've had over a year to come forwards and tell the truth, and Noah and his family are the only victims in this. His family deserves to know the truth. And I'm sorry it's hard for me to believe that Noah got mad and walked. Okay, we've seen all that. And it's also hard for me personally to believe that his friends would commit 4 to 5 other felony charges just to cover up an accident. Yeah, just an accident, and going out of your way to incriminate yourself seems... It just seems a bit silly. That makes no sense, yeah. So the only thing left would be foul play and a staged hit and run scenario, and I think that's exactly what happened. Could there ever be an alternative, ever? Does anyone out there think there's an alternative that maybe Noah was murdered and that it was staged, that there is foul play, but it's a stranger, as in a stranger from the party or a stranger from within the area, local or passing by? Is that ever a possibility? Just let me know your thoughts. And it's also, what else? I sure wish we could all hear the other partygoer interviews like we got with Caden's. That would be very interesting. I've only asked for them to tell the truth for over a year now. That's it. And we've got some photos here, so we'll just take a look at them if possible. It's a bit dark, the screen. Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Justin Roy responds, and this is 1 year ago. Get them all, brothers, even the parents that tried so hard to cover this up to a hit and run. They beat him, killed him, and then just put him by the Highway 81 to cover it up. We know, you know, get all of them. Noah Presgrove was a good kid that did not deserve this death. Governor Kevin Stitt, let's go, bro. Truth and justice for Noah. Please finish this. And then some other responses. Noah Presgrove's army. When was this? 1 day ago? Was it really 1 day ago? Or further back in the past? Depends. Justin Roy, as admin at the time. Golf club that Noah never saw coming, in my opinion. Now they're missing. Then they panicked and staged a hit and run scene, even running him over to make it look like hit and run, my opinion. Paul Poucher. People need to pay for this, even if it's just hosting charges. Police, DA, better hope they find justice. Jessica nailed it. No Protocol's army. Sally Dickens. Justin Roy, likely because the vibe was off for whatever reason, and he felt it. Something was planned, in my honest opinion. I doubt murder because kids, and yes, they were all still kids to me. The human brain does not stop growing until approximately age 25. Oh shit, I've got 1 more year left then. And the last part to fully mature is that prefrontal cortex where all the executive functioning takes place. Impulse control, critical thinking, time management, etc. They never think death is imminent. I think it was a plan to start a fight with him, so they have no idea. Okay. I agree, it's very sad, and I think it was premeditated beatdown gone wrong. Noah may possibly have gotten caught with the wrong girl and or woman set in the motion. What's this one? Justin Roy. Y'all called this a hit and run from the beginning. The evidence says different. Yeah, semi-mirror knocked out his teeth, his shorts, bust up his face, and a batch of ribs with multiple blunt force trauma. It was Jack Newton that suggested a mirror of a truck caused Noah's death and all the injuries, which is hard to believe, but that's what he thought at some point. Weird, isn't it? Multiple blunt force trauma. You've got to take in mind that truck mirrors are quite high up, so would it even touch Noah's head? Maybe not. Yeah, don't think so. Again, my buddy got hit by a Hyundai, that's how it's supposedly pronounced, and he flew 60 to 70 foot and body was torn up, closed casket. Someone worked really hard to make it look like a hit and run, but the lack of blood just don't add up. They probably shouldn't have washed him before placing him. This is not a hit and run, so my question to you, why do you want it to be a hit and run so badly? You, Renee, Jack, Caleb, all of you want it to be hit and run. Why? The evidence doesn't support that. Good try. What's next? Truck, car surfing, ATV accident. Noah got beat up and murdered on your property. That's exactly what happened, and you know it. That's the only reason why y'all want this to be hit and run. Oh, and left his hey dude shoes on. Are you serious? And shorts folded nearby. I mean, the context of the shorts, the white ones. Weird how the white, when Caden saw that they were black and there was basically a switcheroo. But more importantly, the fact that the white shorts were in the middle of the road. Even if, let's just say the white shorts were never there and Noah was still wearing his normal black shorts, as like what Caden saw. If those black shorts had ended up in the middle of the road, that would still be odd by itself, regardless of what coloured shorts they are, regardless of whether they've been switched around, swapped, or tampered with. Shorts in the middle of the road don't normally happen, especially in like a hit and run, normally. They don't just fall off or appear in the middle of the road unless you do like a magic trick. Or the exception would be Noah took him off, swung him about and then threw him in the middle of the road and then got hit by a vehicle. It just seems a bit weird. As for the shorts though being neatly folded up, Well, I believe it was in Partners in True Crime interview, Jack Newton made a reference to that, saying that they were in the middle of the road. Jack Newton decided to go and pick them up. And I think this was like 6 a.m. onwards. As he picked them up, there was a police guy nearby, not told off whatsoever, despite tampering with potential evidence, picking him up, taking him to his truck, Jack's, and then being told by police to fold him up and put him on the ground near to Noah's body. So even the police guy or police presence didn't do much, did they? Very casual about it. Why didn't the police guy or someone else decide to move the shorts? Why did they allow some individual with a conflict of interest, Noah's best friend, to do that? What else do we have here? If he was hit by a vehicle at the speed limit and no one follows, was excess of 70 was flipped. Don't think she did it either, but she knows exactly what happened. They all do, in my opinion. They were there awake after 2 a.m. I too think beaten very badly. Noah did wash his body Sunday morning after he went back to his place of living, but couldn't get all of the markings off and couldn't get the left shoulder marking off the video with BS and Isaac Rojas at 1:05 in the morning of Monday, which was recorded by Caden Pressey, which clearly showed that there was a mark on Noah's back, the shoulder area. But it just so happened that at 1:50 a.m, a bit later on in the morning of Monday, that Noah had writing on his stomach area on the front, which is weird because did it show in the Brylan sweat slap footage? Not so much, but then again, it was a side profile, you got to understand. But when his body was found, those markings were all gone. Well, it just so happens that after the side-by-side rollover with having another shower, that could have got rid of more of the markings. Would it have got rid of it? Would it have got rid of it all? I don't know. It was Brooke Bounds Carter that suggested that maybe Noah had another wash, maybe 2 washes, 2 showers at the party, whether that be the same day or one after the other. Who knows? What else do we have? I've heard Jasmine Millan, Jack Newton or Brylan Sweat washed him, so not sure. And thank you for your unbiased opinion. Take in mind, these will be old comments by Justin Roy. And from what we've heard of since, and Carter Combs' own statement, it was Carter Combs and Jasmine Millan that helped. Not so much wash Noah, but helped keep him stood up so he didn't fall over. But then, supposedly, one of Noah's best buddies, even though we've only heard as Jack Newton as a best buddy, best friend, some other guy decided to join in the shower and have fun with Noah, and they were laughing and joking. Who was that? Don't know. But isn't it convenient how the supposed footage of a shower, Noah supposedly naked, having a wash, probably not quite aware or giving consent to being filmed by the likes of either Carter or Jasmine or another person, whoever's behind the camera, but they record that, recording a person who's kind of out of it, no clothes on, having a shower, maybe not thinking much of it, but still recording it. But then when the real fun kicks in, when things get all funny and silly, when one of Noah's male friends jumps on in and it's, oh, wow, so amazing, ha, let's stop recording, let's not record this. I don't know, it's just weird. You know, it's just as questionable as lots of arguments at the party, but not a single one is recorded. And you know what people are like nowadays, into drama and conflict. You'd think someone would have recorded it, possibly. Pull the phone out. Justin Roy to Stevie Howard. Are you serious right now? Everyone at the party is a suspect. Everyone. Noah was hit by a car like you all want it to be. That's just not the truth. And the deception is ridiculous. Several kids claimed they were not there when videos show that they were. So, as an example, if we was to look back, what party goers claim they weren't at the party yet video footage shows that they were? An example I could think of, not saying that they said that they weren't there, but on behalf of a friend like Colton Newton stating that Travis wasn't there, Travis Monson. But there's footage of him present at the party. So there's that as a rough example. But I'll tell you something. Colton Newton at the party. Did I see any photos of him at the party? No. Interesting. Stephanie Millan. Maybe with the exception of one photo, which is from Caden's point of view, when filming Georgia, and Stephanie's in the background supposedly, and Breeley somewhere. It's still not clear. You know, the familiar people that you see in the party footage, which stands out, is typical Noah most of the time. I don't even think Caden Pressey was ever recorded, was he? It just seemed to be Noah I was familiar with, Jasmine Milan possibly, definitely Carter, Avery possibly, said Jack, definitely Mikey there, even though it was only for a very short clip, he definitely stood out. It was obvious who he was. Brylan Sweat as well. Appeared briefly, but obvious who he was. It was kind of distinct, if you know what I mean. Whereas maybe some of the party girls, because they've got black hair and from a distance they all could look the same, and depending what the quality of the footage is like, you know, out of all the named individuals that we've heard of, how often or how much did they appear in the party footage and which ones didn't appear whatsoever? Anyway, you can keep reading that if you want. Is that it of the photos? It is. Maybe we check the comments briefly. Not too many, but there might be more later. Joyce Burgow, I've talked to you a few times and you never once mentioned to me about any of the kids being murders. You have in fact stated you hope none of them were involved, but someone knows something, you gave your opinion, that's your opinion, just like everyone else is entitled to their own. I mean, it's like when people have a go at Caden Pressey and the inconsistencies, which in a way, yeah, I get that, but at least to my knowledge, Caden Pressey hasn't been pointing fingers at people. And I think Caden Pressey said a similar thing, that he doesn't want or he doesn't hope to find out that his friends or any of them are responsible for Noah's death. And even when it came to Jack speaking about him, despite being disconnected between them and becoming distant and Jack walking away, supposedly, that Caden didn't have much bad things to say about Jack still. Just thought I'd add that in. Quick response. Thank you. I do not want this to be a murder by his friends, never have, but foul play is definitely involved here, in my opinion, and I think several know exactly what happened to him. His family and our community deserve to know the truth. What's this? Linda to Justin. Just curious, have you yourself ever spoken to Isaac Brylan Sweat? What's SP? Or Mikey Lair? And if so, do their stories line up? Justin says, I have talked with one of them last October, and I don't want to put their information out there just yet. Right, okay. So there is still more mystery and behind-the-scenes things in the background. And maybe with time, if that ever does come out, might be able to put it into more perspective. Linda says, just weird to me that 3 of his closest buddies are not speaking up. I guess that's for Caden, I guess. Maybe. Looking for justice or trying to help. Or maybe it's just more so Noah's best buddies. Michelle, exactly. I've not seen him accusing anyone directly of anything. He's been attacked because he's been a loud voice. Oh, that's reference to Caden. Oh, I see. In no way can anyone lay blame for the silence at your feet. It's ridiculous to watch the hate and vitriol that has been pushed by a certain group of people. Okay. Gone on too far. You're right, they told the truth, it would set them a tree. Justin, I've been following crime cases for years and my intuition and guts are usually pretty close to the truth that I've found in other cases. Total in agreement with your opinion on this, the outcome. Rita bashed these kids. Noah is the only one who died. Noah is literally the only one that was bashed. Well, bashed by something to end up dying. Right. Okay. Manda. I think it's pretty revealing that the same group of people refute murder or foul play since the beginning. Golf clubs couldn't have been used. How so? No way he was beaten. How can that be ruled out? He must have fell or been hit. Off what or with what? No corroborating evidence where his body was found. Dalen says in News Nation interview, they've said foul play, they've said suspicious death, they have a few people in mind. When vampires try to disparage you, it's a testament to your character. You have the utmost respect for my family. Oh, another reference to vampires. Must get the garlic. Jamie, you're entitled to your opinion and freedom of speech. Even the Sheriff Wilson and Under Sheriff Jimmy Williams stated it was not a hit and run in the People magazine interview and stated that they knew it wasn't a hit and run since day one and ruled it out, along with medical examiner that did the autopsy. So if that's truly what the police are saying, then, you know, certain family members in opposition that say it's a hit and run must also have the same outlook that the police are lying or getting it wrong. But we don't really see that side much. just more so towards the general public being told they're wrong. Further, they stated that it's a suspicious death as nothing fits a hit-and-run death crime scene or the evidence of such. Okay. So, I'll just tie in with my final thoughts. I just wanted to mainly dial it back to the ambulance theme because it has come up very brief in some conversations on my channel, so obviously it does need to be acknowledged and talked about to some degree. Besides volunteer firefighters, the actual fire department, and as for the police department and the paramedics, ambulances, whatever, how far are they? Are they equal distance from one another to the spot, the highway, or is one further than the other? Not that it should really matter. You look at the Dylan Rounds case, even more mileage covered, but still certain resources managed to get on down at a relevant time. As for onwards, not so much, it went backwards and downhill, but still, to an extent, the correct resources showed up in the moment, I guess. But with this case lacking, volunteer firefighters, not even the proper firefighters showing up. Why volunteer? Oh, just because they're more local, easier access, possibly. And in terms of measuring it, I don't think you would just measure it based off the question of why did no ambulance or paramedics show up. It would have to be additional things as well. Why didn't the ME step in quicker, show up quicker, so the evidence is more fresh? And by the time, I think people were saying by the time ME showed up and then when taken back, was it to Oklahoma City or something? And then the autopsy, that was done the next day, many hours ahead. So even more delayed time, possibly losing maybe some evidence along the way. And the reason for, what was it, livor mortis kicking on in. So overall, the theme you could put it is a lack of proactiveness. And on top with the police, no supposed search warrants or pushing that either. Overall, a little bit lackadaisical. I think that's how you'd put it. Even the dispatcher, maybe the voice or the tone or the attitude. Oh, yeah, ME, oh, should be going down there first, but you know what, I'm going to go down to Lawton instead and do another job. You tie it all together, these different services, these different types of authority. And if they're all collectively a little bit slow or not as proactive, does that mean they're all in on it together? Once again, you've got to ask yourself, like with the Dylan Rounds case, was that a form of corruption or more incompetence? And suppose it turned out to be more incompetence rather than corruption, but it was hard to tell at one point. In terms of this particular case, people are pushing a form of corruption, more so police at least, or certain police, because of how they may have handled things, what they didn't handle correctly, what they didn't push on, how some may have treated Caden Pressey, gaslighting or forceful in the interview in an unnatural way. And anything else in between, connections with certain family members supposedly, and the odd police person or officer showing up before the actual official call was made to police. So what, like off duty, off record, and even with a volunteer firefighter too, as we've heard from Caden Pressey in that private interview, the police one. So it does raise a few eyebrows, I guess, in terms of the corruption there, but if you put aside the police, OHP, what do people think about the dispatcher? Do you think the dispatcher is corrupt? You can't say that the ambulance, the paramedics are corrupt because they weren't ever involved in the first place. If they haven't been called or assigned to a particular location, then they're not going to come on down. So does anyone think that the dispatcher caller, the dispatch, the actual people that work there receiving calls, do you think they're corrupt or just incompetent and didn't think? You can leave your thoughts below, of course. At the end of the day, the only other thing you can do is measure. How often, do you like how in the past when I said, how often do deaths occur at parties within the area, roughly a certain radius? How often? I don't know if we ever got an answer, but the other question you could ask yourself is, you know, like when you get 9 times out of 10, this happens. Out of 10, how often do the paramedics, ambulance service show up at a scene where someone could be injured or more so dead presumed dead. How often does an ambulance show up within the area, roughly? Maybe Terrell, whether it be going on to Ryan. If there's a dead body in the middle of a road, on the side of a highway, in a rural area or in a field, police are called, they come on down. Do the ambulance as well, paramedics, do they come? Because if 9 times out of 10 they do, this one particular time they don't, it's more of an abnormality. Just like how we said about routine with certain partygoers, with Noah Presgrove. Okay, he walks away, that's what he usually does. But what was different this time? 9 times out of 10, Noah walks away from a party house. But this one occasion, he didn't return back. What's the big deal with that? 9 times out of 10, people may act a certain way or react to some events. But on this one occasion, there was a lack of proactiveness. That's what you got to measure these different variables. What normally happens, what didn't happen this time, or what did happen this time, which normally doesn't happen. It's a bit vague, but I wanted to apply it like that so you can apply it to your own things as well. As for Justin Roy bashing people, I've not been around that long compared to others. I wasn't around during the time of when he described himself as being more aggressive, basically being more passionate, being maybe a bit more pushy in hopes of getting answers, which is a good thing, but maybe for some it can come across as a bit too full on, is what it is. Maybe an example would be with the dove hunt, trying to get answers there, and when asking questions, no answers were received. And there was a level of stubbornness from the opposition, so that wouldn't have helped Justin Roy. And Justin Roy reacting to that and how he responded back, it was a breakdown in communication. But when people start being awkward or stubborn when responding back to a question, and they're doing it like intentional as well, it doesn't help the situation. So not all the focus can fall and blame on Justin. It's the ones on the opposite end that don't help at times either, right? Kind of like when people may try and act like a smart arse or a smart ass, that can trigger things, can create a bit of tension, roughness. So I thought I'd just mention it. That's pretty much it for now. Mainly, I just wanted to catch up with these discussions. I think the next video that I'll do, maybe take another look at the white car, the mystery regarding that, maybe apply it to the highway if necessary, see if we can look at it from a different perspective and angle. As for any other videos after or in between, I'm going to try and do a live stream before Christmas. Likely, it will be at the same time as usual when I do my normal live premieres, but this time it'll be a live stream, and it'll probably just be like a collection of bullet points to talk about and casually speak of, and then answer any questions or see what people have got to say. Kind of like what I did maybe a week or 2 ago with that live stream. That went well. I'll try and do it again. Hopefully the weather's okay wherever I record it and do it at. Maybe I try it in here or I do it outside in the dark. We'll just see. And then I might have a video for Christmas Day, but I probably won't be present just because of being busy with others. But if I do a video like that, I might record it a day before or a day before that, kind of in advance. Maybe the day when I do the live stream, I'll record a video, so then that can be for the next day or the day after Christmas. So I'll try and work it out, but hopefully you found this video somewhat interesting and you got to see things normally you wouldn't see. I think the standout point today was the reference by Justin Roy saying that two of his family members were interviewed by Kathy Bingham, supposedly. Never knew that, because Kathy Bingham never really revealed any names beforehand on the Parts in True Crime interview. So that's a new little detail. Let me know if you're surprised or not. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.